Hi, I'm Dan Morrison, CEO and founder of Morevolved, and we just wrapped a webinar with ISACA Sacramento. The original topic of the webinar was leading in the age of AI, but throughout the course of that, the attendees had some very, very good questions. And in light of those questions, I wanted to do a deeper dive into them. So here they are.
All right, so we just wrapped up ISACA event. It went really well. There were a few questions being asked that we want to address to give you the opportunity to kind of go a little bit deeper on. So the first question, what about vibe coding? Is this a threat for the junior programmers?
There's a lot of issues that are going to probably stem from junior developers and how vibe coding actually could potentially affect them. You know, vibe coding is becoming a very big thing. There's all kinds of different applications out there. You use Claude Code, you can use Codex, you can use Cursor, Lovable, you name it. There's a lot of different versions of the vibe coding platforms. Is coding going to go away from a junior developer's perspective? I think the answer to that is most likely. I do believe that in certain aspects, over time, it'll go away. But what won't go away from the junior coders is the ability to critical think. But if you are a developer, if you're a junior developer and you're just coming into this industry, understanding how the infrastructure works around a particular software platform that you're building. How does it integrate with the cloud? How does it integrate with a database? How does it integrate with you name it? The next thing that you should really learn is, how to solve the problem using the coding platforms that you have. Have you taken the time to go out and map that problem? What is the use case? Are you looking at edge cases? All of those things are the things that AI is going to be able to help kind of guide, but they're not going to be able to help discern the actual use case for the organization. Now, there's different ways that you can do that. Obviously, you can record a transcript, you can have a conversation about the needs of the client, but you're still sitting there having the conversation and thinking critically over and iterating over the problem itself. So as a junior developer, I think the junior developer and the senior developer are kind of be doing the same thing. You have your junior developer that's going to architect a plan that vibe coding is then going to do. With the senior developers are going to be more of the QA portions of that work. And that's kind of the way that we operate here in certain aspects. We have junior developers that are going through and they're thinking critically, they're developing the thing that we do, and then we have seniors that will then go in and QA that process to make sure that it's good. So now I think the thing that everyone is really thinking about is, once again, it's a tool, right? Using AI and vibe coding as a tool to 10x your ability, because now you're no longer having to be fully hands-on keyboard. Now you're just executing based off of a plan that you come with. And software development will become more of a software architecture, architecting the plan in there. So if you learn that as a junior developer, I don't think that you're going to be replaced by AI for quite some time.
Can AI do embedded coding?
So that's a great question. Can AI do embedded coding? And the answer is yes. And it's been tried. And I think if you look at some of Anthropic's commercials or ads, they actually show examples of where people are using AI to code Arduino boards, so microcontrollers, and those types of things, drone microcontrollers in particular. So the answer to that question ultimately is yes, that is entirely a possibility. Now there's some caveats to that, at least in the present tense for using AI to be able to go through and do this level of encoding, or embedded coding rather. This still requires heavy human oversight. And that human oversight needs to be there and present, because you can really get into some of the registers and the peripherals, and the hallucination rates are still fairly high when it comes into what is being done. Now, there's an opportunity to create specified agents or be able to create certain systems that do that for you, so you can reduce that hallucination rate across those embedded systems. However, the true answer to that question is it's already being done, and it has been done for quite some time.
Are there examples you've seen where companies are using AI in a more systemic way that is driving real business impact across the organization?
Well, the answer to that question is there are examples, but I want to kind of break this down a little bit into different aspects of what an organization can and cannot do to implement AI. One of the things I think people do the most of is RAG implementation. So retrieval augmented generation. So they're taking multimodal factors, so text, images, videos, those things. They're putting them into some sort of structured database, either a RAG database or three-dimensional, even some SQL databases, and they're restructuring that information through context and embeddings. So they're extracting information, they're putting it into an embedding, so probably using a ChatGPT API or something to that to create those embeddings, and then it creates the context search that makes AI work. So that was a mouthful for the technical folks in the room. For the non-technical folks in the room, you're putting stuff into a filing cabinet, and then you're creating the little tabs that go along the very top of the filing cabinet, and AI is using these tabs to go and search for all of that information. So the tabs have a little bit more information than just a word. So it has like a paragraph that's associated with that. And inside of that, now you have your file, whatever it is that you're actually in there. So we got the nerd speak, and then now we've got like what it's actually doing for everyone else in the room. That is a practical application of AI. Now you can use an AI wrapper. So use Claude or some sort of API or some sort of tool that was built that can then go, now you can go and ask the actual system a question about the data, and then it can go and actually retrieve it and then pull that and actually reference it in certain aspects. So you have a wrapped around prompt on top of this that then makes that work in there. And this can be done at any organization, at any level whatsoever. There's a little bit of infrastructure that needs to be set up, but if you're familiar with Notion or something like that, they have a lot of the stuff that's in there because that's how that process is actually working. So that's one way that you can go into an organization, and then you can find how, or a different way that you can go through and actually implement artificial intelligence into an organization. There are quite a few different methods out there that you should probably follow in order to be able to really implement AI into an organization. The very first method that we use, we call it MOSAIC, right? And MOSAIC is an acronym for mapped, optimized, systemized, automated, integrated, and connected. That's our particular process that we use here at Morevolved to make this work. The thing about it is a lot of organizations don't understand how their processes really work. This is not to any fault of their own, it's just organizations grow. Somebody makes a real quick change to how a certain process works, your standard operating procedure is no longer valid. Even if you wrote it 3 months ago or 3 weeks ago, somebody has gone through and found a different way of doing that. So in order for you to actually be successful in implementing any sort of automation, any sort of artificial intelligence on top of an organization, you have to really truly understand how the organization works from the ground up and the top down on all levels altogether. That's a big ask, right? So even in our first phase, as we talk about being mapped, like what is it that your organization is doing? And whether or not, I'm not talking necessarily always about the organization as a whole. Maybe you're an SMB, maybe we could do that, but maybe you're a large organization and you're looking at a department, subdepartment, and you need to figure out how that thing works. So you have to really understand that, and then you have to optimize it. In order to be able to be successful in an organization, you have to optimize whatever it is that you just mapped. Because look at it this way, like everyone here's the standard operating procedures that have been built previously, they weren't built for AI. They weren't built for autonomous operations. They weren't built for 24/7 work. So they were built to be used by the people. And if you're trying to remove the person out of that equation and you're trying to use something that was built imperfectly to begin with, you have a long way to go before you actually go and do implementation. So that's one of the things that we do at our organization is we guide an organization through that process. Once you have it optimized, then you have to systemize it. Like you have to make a system. Your automations will not work without a system. And then after you've done these processes, then you can look at automating it.
Can AI get so expensive that the benefits from it will be exceeded by the costs?
That is probably one of my favorite questions that I get asked a lot. And there's no shortage of theories and all of this. So I want to caveat that what I'm about to say is a theory. It's not accurate. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's it's based off of my own research and things that I'm reading, and non-biased opinions, those things. The answer to the question right now is yes. It's probably, at least in the interim, going to get expensive. It's going to get more expensive over time. And that's because we're still really learning how to use AI. We're learning how to implement it in organizations. We're learning how to use it in our personal lives. It's just this spider web that just keeps expanding over and over and over again. However, at some point in time, I feel that there's going to be a tipping point, and AI itself is going to become commoditized. If you look at all of the things that are happening within the technology spectrum, you look at Google, you look at Anthropic, you look at OpenAI, they're constantly growing, because right now in its present state, like, AI model building is at the highest point that it's going to be able to be. Maybe not the highest point, but it keeps reaching new and new heights on processing power, computing power. If you remember back, I think it was January 2025, when DeepSeek released from the labs out in China, it kind of revolutionized, in theory, how a model could be trained. And now that's become somewhat standard in a way, but there's, the way they went through and did that. So they took billions and billions and billions of dollars, and yes, depending on how they got the information is not the subject for this conversation. Billions and billions of dollars, and they retrained a model for DeepSeek R1, and that model was actually really, really good. And it's still being used. DeepSeek V4, I think R4 is coming out right now. There's a lot of different things that are going out there. But the point that I'm trying to get at is there's going to be a point where AI itself is going to help us figure out how to improve efficiency of generating AI functions. We've already been doing it. NVIDIA has been doing it. We keep compressing power into smaller and smaller boxes. Whether or not you agree or not, the Blackwell, or the GB10 Blackwell that's inside of some of the devices that are out there, that's 128 gigabytes of available RAM to be able to compress some of these smaller models in there and run AI inferences. You look at Apple with Apple Silicon and its unified memory architecture. Without getting super nerdy, we've already begun the process of simplifying these models into better and better use cases. The next point is that when it comes to that, we are going to start seeing more hyper-specific AI models based off of some of the other models, these open-weighted models that are out there, or the reducing of ML and AI algorithms, because we can actually use AI to build AI algorithms and make them effective and more efficient than the first AI algorithms that were initially released in the last 10 years. So now we've already created this level of efficiency that hasn't been created before. So all of the big tech folks are going after the thing that's going to be able to do this. I just watched somebody released some agentic system for creating software all autonomously. We built that here at Morevolved 9 months ago. Didn't know it was going to be a thing. Figured it'd be commoditized by now, but that's irrelevant. The point is, people have already figured out how to take all of these tools and bring them down into something that's significantly more scalable. Google's done it where you can have local AIs on your phone. So if you start looking at the whole picture of all of these frontier models, you don't need to know how to change a cylinder head in a 1965 Corvette. You need to know how to do the thing that you want it to do, and then you build an automation or an AI system around that. So as AI becomes more and more available, it will become more and more commoditized. The last point I want to make on that is Linux. If we look back to when Linux actually came out, Linux is it's still a free operating system. You can download it just about anywhere. But something like 85% of the world's servers run on Linux. The free thing that came out, Linux, deployed, has more effect on how the entire world operates than anything else that's out there. Look at the internet. The internet is readily available to most people now. Now we have Starlink. Now we have different ways that we can access that. And that's only getting better, and it's only getting cheaper over time. Where we're at is we're probably still on the increase of how much AI costs right now, but we are going to hit a tipping point, and that cost is going to plummet. When that's gonna happen could be 6 months, could be 6 years. Don't have an answer for that question. But my theory is based off of everything that AI is going to do for humanity, at some point we're gonna tip.
How would you recommend leading people that are hesitant on how to get their people a little bit more on board with the emerging technology of today?
The biggest thing that you have to do is just lean in. Like, you really have to lean into what's going on with the people and why their fear actually exists. What are they afraid of? And people hate AI. Like, use the word hate because of the fear aspect that's going around it. They're feared that they're going to lose their jobs. They're feared that nothing's real anymore. And all of these fears are actually valid fears. And, it's conversations that we have inside of our own organization. But I think the difference is whether or not you allow your people to believe that AI is coming for their jobs, whether or not you allow people to believe that this is going to be the case. Because if they're asking that question, here's the hard truth. And if you know me, I give it to people straight. If they're asking that question, it's probably something that you're doing or you're not doing. Address the fear, call it out, figure out what is going on with that level of fear. Break AI down. Take it, I'm not expecting everyone that's watching this to understand all of the different intricacies of AI. I know I don't, but there's a lot that goes into AI that people aren't aware of. You hear about this great AI tool that's doing this, or this great AI tool that's doing that. They're revolutionizing this or that. Quite honestly, the vast majority of the AI tools out there are somebody that has taken a clever user interface, wrapped it around an API to Claude or ChatGPT, and that's what you're interacting with. So it's no different than how software has been kind of developed in the past. It's actually very similar. There's libraries of software, so it's no different than going to the library and checking out a book. The only difference is you get to keep the book. So when you're doing software and you're building software, whether it's in Python or JavaScript, it doesn't matter. You go and you check out these libraries, and then you build based off of the libraries that are there. So the software that you're seeing is a library, so to speak, coming through an API that is constantly running and providing this data providing the ability to create these AI tools. What you're seeing levels of creativity that are using AI in a different way. That's what fascinates me about AI just in general. It's not the fact that it's super intelligent, at least not yet. It's the fact that people are intelligent and they are learning how to use AI in methods that were not originally intended for the scope and purpose that AI was done. If you're addressing some of that, then you can go to your people and you can be like, hey, this fear that you have, let's address this. Let's make something using AI. Let's see what we can do with AI. Let's figure out different ways that you can augment AI. Going back to the chainsaw analogy in the original question, it's about the tool that you gave to the lumberjack that actually went through and 10x them. Now, there are some folks out there, and rightfully so, that say that AI can actually replace the human. And that's also true. I want you to look at it this way. There are entire machines out there that go and level forests. That they don't have necessarily the need for the lumberjack to go out there and do that. But tell that to the people right now that are climbing trees and taking branches off of power lines. Yeah, robots eventually may be able to do that. Actually, I do believe that they can. I've seen videos where robots are trying to get in there, but we're still very, very far away from robotics being able to really adapt that. Now, with the acceleration of AI, that could change, but you're still going to need the decision as to what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done over the course of whatever that lumberjack is doing. So AI is no different from that perspective. And then there's the last piece. There are things out there that people will want to remain human, just period dot. People want to have that human connection, that human interaction. And although we're still navigating some waters here, and I know there's a lot of There's a lot of corporations that are trying to push all AI. But at some point or another, the general population will not accept certain aspects of what is AI and what's not. Even if that population acceptance becomes 50-50, maybe there's 50% of the population there's like AI everything, and there's 50% of the population is like, no, I don't want a robot to cook me eggs in the morning. Out of the 50%, yeah, some of those folks will lose a position. But the other 50%, they're like, no, I want to go and talk to the barista that's making my coffee, because that's the thing that they enjoy. We have a long way to go for this general fear of where AI is going to be as we go forward.
What would your opinions and advice be to business leaders that are looking at AI not as to make humans more efficient, but to replace humans?
Well, ask me the solving world hunger question, and we'll see what we can do with that one. There are companies out there that really do want to, replace people, and that's a fact. Sometimes it becomes about the bottom line. You get to choose as a leader what type of organization you want to be. Are you the type of organization that burns your employees and lets them go because of AI? Or are you the type of employee that goes through and finds new horizons for them to be able to pursue? The choice is yours. And here's the thing, you're gonna know that. And the crazy part about that is, and I'm gonna get Skynet on us, right? AI will know that too. The very systems that you use to train and replace all of these people, the systems will eventually be intelligent enough to know that you let them go. So I'm gonna poise this in a different way. NVIDIA, right? Present day. NVIDIA is not laying off people, and they are the one that's basically driving the AI revolution that's going on right now. You look at these other companies, and they're actually laying off people, and then they're quietly hiring some of them back. What company do you want to be? Do you want to be the company that figures out different ways to augment humans on there? So we'll go back to that utility company example that was provided in the question. They go by the way of all of the robots. There are other opportunities to expand the entirety of the utility company. Put them in sales. People don't want to talk to robots for sales. It gets kind of annoying. We all have done it. We've all been on robocalls, and it just loops, even in the newer days of AI agents. And yeah, they're impressive, don't get me wrong. But ultimately, you still kind of want to talk to a human in certain aspects. So figure out different ways that you can do it. Who's command and control? Do we have human oversight of these robotics? So we know for a fact here in the California valleys that we could prevent fires by taking trees away from power lines. There are probably millions of miles of power lines in this whole entire thing, and you can use AI to then go through and help you identify the best places to go, but ultimately the execution line needs to work at the human level. So yeah, there's going to be levels of automation that we are willing to accept, but there should be levels of automation that we are willing not to accept. So if that means that, some of the folks that are out there doing that, they then become the experts in the field, and AI is trained on millions and millions of images of what good looks like. You can't substitute human intuition for AI, is at least not yet. So both of those things are critical to organizational success. Don't be like one of these organizations that make a big to-do about laying a bunch of people off just to realize that you made a mistake and you have to hire them back. Because guess what? If I was a part of that organization, I wouldn't want to come work for you, just in general. Keeping it real. If I heard one of these bigger organizations, they laid off 16,000 people, 20,000 people, and I am a Stanford grad, a Harvard grad, I'm not going to go work for you because you already proven to the workforce that you can't be trusted as a business leader. So it was really great to see and hear all of the different questions that the attendees at ISACA had for us. I know that there are a lot of you out there that have more questions that are along these lines, so I ask that you leave them in the comments below. If you want to learn more, we're launching our institute in August. The link will be in the description below.